Hello, my lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. And here is what is on my mind today. So, I think that politicians, or some politicians, have kind of lost sight of what their role is. We're seeing this a lot at the minute, and it's always been the case, but it's always bothered me greatly. So I'm going to pose a question in a bit, but essentially what I feel is this. You listen to, and I'll take Trump as an example just because it's the most obvious one, it's the most in-your-face one. His position, the position of a politician, anybody in government office, it is not a position of power. It is not a position of privilege. It is a position of service. That's what it's there for. The public elect somebody to serve them. You listen to his language, and other politicians as well. I'm not singling him out. It's just that he's a good example because he's something you're all familiar with. Essentially, a person you're all familiar with. His language is very. He often throws into conversation things about presidential power. I have absolute power. I have absolute authority. All this kind of language, and it's like, no, you're missing the point. Your job is to serve the nation that you represent. That is your position. That is what you're supposed to do. You've been elected to govern. You do have power, but the power is to be used for the greater good. The power you have and the authority you have is to be used in the service of the nation and the people you are elected to govern. That is how it works. And I think a lot of politicians seem to either don't get it, or they do get it and they just completely ignore it. It's like, no, now that I have this authority, now that I have this power, I am going to help these people, not this nation, and that's the disconnect. So, but maybe there is some who are just genuinely naive and do not realize or do not get that you are elected to serve the people. Your job is to govern us and to not to rule, but to manage, essentially. You're the CEO of the nation. Your job is to watch over it, make it run smoothly, and make as much of the population and the economy and all the various facets as successful and as prosperous and as healthy and as everything as it can be. And again, you're never going to make everything happy, and you're never going to make every system perfect. But the goal is that's the aim, and you'll never reach it because nobody ever will. But that's what you are elected to do, and most of them, a lot of them at the minute, it doesn't feel like that's what they're doing. It doesn't feel like that's their mandate, and it should be. That their mindset is should be, right, I am here to make everybody's life in this nation the best it can possibly be, through the services we provide, through the protection we provide, through the healthcare we provide, through the job opportunities we create, through the transport networks, through all these millions and millions and millions of little facets which, government has thousands of people working within its framework to aim for. And admittedly, being successful at everything is going to be phenomenally difficult, especially for a nation with a large population. It's going to be almost impossible. But you should make the effort. And I just feel like, again, they forget, or they know and they just willingly disregard the fact you are there to serve us. We are essentially, when you run for office, when you run for Prime Minister in the UK, President of the US, Emperor of wherever, when you apply for that job, you are the candidate, and every citizen of that nation who's allowed to vote, they are your interviewer. We are going to stand there, we have got our ballot, and you are going to pitch to us why you are the best person for the job. And then we are going to say, yes, we endorse you, we will give you this job. Or we're going to say, no, we don't. So you applied for the job, you got the job, and then you immediately forgot everything in that interview. You immediately pushed it all aside. You made lots of grand promises, and then you completely ignore them once you get the job. That doesn't stand in any other business in the world. If you give a fantastic interview and I'm going to work hard and I'm going to be loyal and I'm going to come up with all these innovations and all these things to make this company the best it can be, and you get in there and what you do is you service 2 members of staff because they're your buddies, ignore everybody else and let the company go to wreck and ruin, you get sacked. Simple. And it feels like sometimes that's the mindset. Or you get into this position and then you help out the wealthiest. You help out the ones who are going to help you maintain your position. You know, a little bit, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. If you kind of endorse this and you maybe support this particular campaign, then I'll put some legislation through that's going to really help you from a tax perspective or from a competitive perspective within your business and that kind of stuff. And it just becomes all this kind of backhanded, under the table kind of stuff, and you're like, it feels like it should be written on the wall. Everywhere they go, it should be on a plaque that what they have to do. This is what you're here for. You are here to govern, to serve the people. You are not to rule them. You are not to control them. You are to govern them within the framework to make their lives and the lives of every citizen safer and better. It's not your job to just constantly bang on about how much authority and how much power you have in your position. Your position should be the least powerful. Your position should be constantly under review. Not every 4 years, 6 years, however many terms, you know, different nations have, you know, and it feels like you have to really, really massively mess up for you to be sacked. Otherwise, you can get 4 years, or you can get 6. You can get to the end of the term, at which point we, the people, can say, no, we're going to put somebody else in. That should be able to happen throughout the process. I'm sorry, if you're 3 months into your job and you're terrible at it, a business can get rid of you. And yet something as important as a nation can't do that. We have to wait 4 years, or however long, depending again on your governance. And it just feels wrong. And I just think, please, we need to refocus. We need to, as much as they might know it and ignore it, the people, we need to remind ourselves of it now and again. These people are here to look after our best interests, not to line the pockets, not to help their mates out and let other people suffer. And this, I don't believe it should be right. Okay, well, you know, you don't get a job and the employer says, well, you know, welcome aboard. You know, go to your desk, and what we'll do is in 4 years, if you're not doing a good job, we'll get rid of you. It's like, no, you've got a 12-week probation period in most jobs. We'll look at you after 3 months, and if you're not doing a good job, you know, we'll either consider there's enough positives to offer additional training or additional support, or you're gone. And that's for most businesses. So why, when it comes to something as massive and as important as a country and nation, is it like, nah, we'll give you 4 years, unless you really, really mess up. And then we'll go through a whole legal process which will take months and months and months, and because of the position you hold and the way our system is set up, you can fight back against your own misconduct by moving pieces around within Congress and government and things. So you can essentially derail your own trial. And you're like, how is that? No, this needs to be completely independent. Because what's happening is the person who is under scrutiny can muddy the waters legally. It's just, it drives me mad. Anyway, so there you go. I just think a little reminder for them, and if they don't get it, or they get it and they just ignore it, a little reminder for us, the citizens. We are here to hold them to account, and they serve us. It's a position of service, not a position of privilege, not a position of power. And that's how it should be. Anyway, so that's it, guys. Thank you as always for taking the time to watch. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. It would really help me out. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about or any questions you'd like me to answer, please leave them in the comments along with any thoughts you'd like to share. This was mine. It's not necessarily important. It's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.